She threatened to leave. I said, you know what? Like, why am I so miserable? Why am I here? What am I born to do? And how can I turn this around? And I knew I wanted to write and speak. That's what came to me in that exact moment. It literally just came to me.
Welcome back to our podcast, folks. We have an extraordinary guest joining us today, someone who has dedicated his life to spreading the power of positivity and uplifting leaders worldwide. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Jon Gordon. Jon, welcome to the show.
Dan, great to be with you.
Hey, we're excited to have you here. If you can share a little bit with our listeners, a bit of your background and how you became passionate about positive leadership, that would be great.
Yeah, it's funny. It came out of being negative. My wife had had enough of my negativity. I was 31 years old, lost my job during the dot-com crash, didn't know how I was going to pay the bills, pay for our mortgage. I had 2 little kids. And honestly, I'm crumbling from the inside out. And I knew I needed to change, but I wasn't willing to change at first. And my wife said to me, if you don't change, we're over. Like, she was literally going to walk out the door. I was being a jerk. I was blaming her for why our life was so bad and why I wasn't living up to my dreams and my potential. And when she threatened to leave, I said, you know what? Like, why am I so miserable? Why am I here? What am I born to do? And how can I turn this around? And I knew I wanted to write and speak. That's what came to me in that exact moment. It literally just came to me. What was I going to write and speak about? And positivity became my thing because I wanted to be more positive. And so this was during the emerging field of positive psychology. So I'm now researching ways I could be more positive. I'm studying. And then from there, I start practicing a lot of the ideas. I start a weekly positive tip. 5 subscribers, Dan, to my newsletter. My mother, my brother, best friend from college. And I start sending that weekly tip out to people, but they start benefiting from it. They start sharing it. It starts to grow. Eventually, this was, again, back in 2002 and 2003. I get a publisher that wants to publish one of my books. I don't even have a book, but he says, I want to publish a book with you. I'm like, on what? He goes, just like what you're writing about for your newsletter. So that becomes a book. And now here we are, 28 books, thousands of talks around the world. I get to work with all these different NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball teams. I work with a lot of different companies, many in real estate. I work with a ton of nonprofit organizations, school districts, and Fortune 500 companies. And I speak on leadership, building great teams, and also really a big area is mindset, still keeping with that positive mindset. I've really become an expert in that, working with so many people, doing so much research. And my latest book comes out in June called The One Truth. And this is like next level mindset. There's a lot of people writing about mindset right now. This is like next level that really explains how thoughts work, how the brain and thoughts interact to actually cause a weakness and division with you and make you feel separate and disconnected, mental health issues, or make you feel one and connected, powerful, and strong. And I can't wait for this to come out because I'm passionate about it.
Wow, that's awesome. So what were you doing before you were doing your positive talk work? What were you doing?
So before I started writing and speaking, I was in the restaurant business. So I was 24 years old, opened up a bar and restaurant in Buckhead, Atlanta, moved to Atlanta right after college. And that became pretty successful. Then I opened up a couple other places and I started a nonprofit organization called the Phoenix Organization, walking door to door to houses, then for city council. I literally ran for city council out of doing this Phoenix thing and making a difference in the community. I'm like, no, I want to run for politics and now have a position of influence and impact, run the election door to door, almost win the election. I'm 26 years old. I lose the election, but it was a great learning experience, a great lesson. And then right after that, I got to go work for a .com. Again, this was like a company that was on the rise. I got 100,000 shares. I was going to make my fortune, like, look out. I put some of the investors together. It was an exciting time. And I thought I was going to make like billions of dollars. And then everything crashed. And that was when I had my moment. What am I born to do? Why I'm here. And I often say, sometimes you have to lose a goal to find your destiny. Losing the city council race, I thought I was going to be congressman or governor or mayor one day. Guess what? No more politics. I thought I was going to be very successful in business, Well, guess what? I was meant to write and speak. Now, do I run a business? Yes, we do training, we do consulting. I've taken all my entrepreneurial lessons and experience, and I now apply it towards serving others. Dan, a wild thing happened a few years ago. I started a cookie company called The Positive Cookie. And inside every cookie wrapper was a positive message with the cookie, like a fortune cookie, but an Americanized version. Great idea, right? Positive cookie, healthy cookie. And then I realized that it was going to take me every ounce of my being, every ounce of energy to make this work, which would mean I wouldn't be able to do everything else. Like to truly make it work, I was gonna have to focus on the cookie. And I heard it loud and clear. Did I put you on earth to make and sell cookies? And it was like, no. It was like a spiritual moment. Like, no, God, no. What am I here for? To impact people, develop leaders, build strong teams. And then out of that, I realized I had the capacity and the energy again to not just write and speak, but to actually build a training company and impact more people. And that's what I started doing. So out of the failed cookie came this great training company that's now impacting thousands of leaders, around the country and doing that as well.
That's awesome. And a little earlier, you said mindset is huge. What would be maybe your top 3 ways to change your mindset? You've got a lot of people who are struggling. They're struggling with negativity. What would be some advice, quick tips of advice these folks could maybe start to do on a day-to-day basis to improve their mindset?
This is what I do with professional sports teams and college teams all the time. And first and foremost, you have to understand where negative thoughts come from. And the question is, do they come from you? And people always say, yes, of course, they're in my head. But here's the next question. If you believe your negative thoughts come from you, who would ever choose to have a negative thought? Would you ever choose a negative thought? When you're dreaming, having a nightmare, are you choosing those thoughts? No. The thoughts are always coming in. They come from consciousness. They come from the mind, soul, from a spiritual place. No one has ever found a thought inside of the brain. The brain is the hardware. It's where the activation happens. But there's this internet cloud of software where the thoughts are always coming from. So when the negative thought comes in, my first tip is don't believe the lies that they tell, because they come in the form of lies that will tell you things about yourself and your future that just aren't true. So don't believe the lies. That's tip 1. Don't believe the lies. Realize they're not coming from you. Real quick on this, a young man I was coaching, he was really struggling, even suicidal. I reached out to his mom. I knew his mom from high school. I said, let me talk to him. She's like, no. He just doesn't want to talk to anybody. Finally, he agreed to talk to me. I said, you have a lot of thoughts in your head? He said, oh yeah, they bombard me all the time. I said, do they attack you? Do they tell negative things to you? He goes, yeah, it makes me want to give up. Like, that's why, I'm in the hospital. I said, they're not coming from you. And once I taught him this, he stopped believing the lies. He stopped feeling guilt and shame for having the negative thoughts in the first place because they weren't coming from him. And he stopped beating himself up. And then I told him, start speaking truth to the lies. Start speaking words of encouragement, which is my next tip. And he started doing that. And he was phenomenal. He's doing great now. Literally transformed this kid in just a few days by teaching this to him. It was life-changing. And I try to teach this to as many people as possible because we have too many kids giving up on their lives. Too many people just giving up because they're discouraged, they're distracted, they have doubt, they have distortions, and they feel divided. And by the way, the root for the Greek word of anxious means to separate and divide. Negative thoughts separate and divide you and weaken you and make you feel powerless. Fear divides. We know that. That's a great example. So thoughts separate us and divide us. We have to make sure we're speaking truth to the lies, words of life, words of encouragement. And the best advice I ever heard, this is tip number 2, Dr. James Gales, the only person on the planet to complete 6 double Ironman triathlons. That's a double Ironman, which means you do an Ironman, a day later do another one. And the last time he did it, he was 59 years old. And he was asked how he did it. He said this, I've learned to talk to myself instead of listen to myself.
Wow.
If I listen, I hear all the fear, the negativity, the doubt, all the reasons why I can't finish this race. But if I talk to myself, I can feed myself with the words and the encouragement that I need to keep on moving forward. So that's my second tip. Talk to yourself. Don't listen to those negative thoughts, negative voices. Speak words of life. The word encourage means to put courage into. So when you're encouraging yourself, you're putting courage into yourself. When you encourage others, you're putting courage into them. Number 3, fear divides. What unites? Love. So guess what? Love casts out fear. Had a field goal kicker in the NFL, struggling. Reach out to him. It was on ESPN. He might get cut. I said, what's going on? Oh, I'm thinking so much. I'm so full of fear. I said, tell me about your rookie season. Because he had a great rookie season. He said, I was loving it. I was living my dream. I was in the NFL. I said, tell me about this year. Missed a couple kicks. I don't want to lose what I have. I don't want to let the team down. I'm fearful of losing my job. Now he's full of fear. He's thinking a lot. Clutter, more thought creates clutter, lowers your state of mind. Less thought, less clutter, higher state of mind. I told him, hey, love casts out fear. Just get back to loving it. Love playing, love the moment, love the opportunity, love the competition, and love kicking. The minute you focus on love, fear will dissipate. Make love your focus. Love the process. Stop fearing the outcome. He did. Had a great rest of the year, kicked in the NFL a number of years after that. I've done this with a number of athletes. It's been transformative. So those are my 3 top tips.
Wow. That is powerful, you guys. If you have time, go back and listen to that. I'm over here taking notes as fast as I possibly can because it's such incredible stuff. So when you say thoughts aren't coming from you, where are they coming from?
Oh, good question. I know. Where do you think they're coming from?
I don't know. A higher energy, energy of that's circulating the planet, other people's thoughts. I don't know.
This is real deep, but this is my book, The One Truth. We're energetic beings. Everything is energy. So you are literally more of a light being than a physical being. How do we make sense of the world but through wavelengths and vibrations and frequencies? And so we have these signals that the brain then interprets to be able to then see these signals from vibrations that transmit in that transform into signals that then turns into hearing that the brain then gives meaning to. And so right now we're having this conversation and it's going, zzz, 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 zzz. Your brain is literally firing synapses like a big antenna. And our brain is nothing more than an antenna. Zzz, 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 and we're tuning into a positive frequency or a negative frequency. And so we're tuning into thoughts all the time from a spiritual dimension. There's a spiritual place. There's a soul. There's a spirit. You have a temporary body. When you die, what happens to your body? It turns to dust, right? So what are you? What am I? People don't think about this often. Like literally you're here and then one day you're gone. I've lost both my parents. It's the strangest thing to me that they were here one day and now they're not here. And then I'm here and then one day I won't be here. Well, where am I going? Like, where do I go? Like, what is all this? Again, we're more light beings. Your body turns to dust. Your brain turns to dust. Your eyes turn to dust. Everything is literally energetic. And so it looks real. It looks physical, but it's an energetic reality that we're living. Not a virtual reality, an energetic reality. So thoughts are part of this energetic reality and the spiritual existence that we're living. And what are those thoughts doing? There's a battle going on between good versus evil. And it's why Harry Potter is about good versus evil. Black Panther is about good versus evil. Superman, good versus evil. Star Wars, good versus evil. Every major epic movie is about good versus evil. So guess what? Those negative thoughts are here from a dark force, if you want to take the Star Wars analogy, and those thoughts weaken you, separate you, and sabotage you. But think about the positive thoughts. They unite you. They encourage you. They uplift you. They give you power. How do you feel when you feel joyful and hopeful and purposeful? You feel awesome. How do you feel when you feel disconnected, alone, isolated? What happened during the pandemic? People felt alone, isolated, disconnected. Like this is next level stuff, right? So once you understand this, you start to see the world like a Jedi and you'll understand how to go through this world with power and strength and purpose and love instead of fear and worry. Dan, like we have so many people now that are chronically worried and fearful and stressed all the time. So many people are dealing with this. We actually normalized it. Just like chronic health, we've actually normalized that. Oh, everyone's dealing with something. We're not meant to be actually unhealthy. We're not meant to be sick all the time. We're meant to be whole. We're meant to be well. We're meant to go through life with joy, with love, with peace, and with power. We're not meant to be weak, actually. We're meant to be powerful. And so this book that I wrote, The One Truth, is teaching people how to basically unite ultimately with love and spiritually with God to give you the power that you need to take on this world, to go through this world in this energetic reality and take it on with power and peace instead of fear and worry. And once you understand this, literally it changes everything.
And I love that so much. I'm a very competitive person. I like to win. I'm an athlete as well. And when I hear you say that you're competing with positive versus negative, now when I have more negativity in my life, now I can check in and say, hey, you know what? These thoughts aren't necessarily true or they're not yours. what are you going to do about it, Dan? You
Yeah.
have the ability to change that and battle back
And Dan, when are you at your best? When you're thinking or not thinking?
when I'm not thinking.
Right. So actually the best way, the best mental state is to actually not even think anything, to be so in the moment, to experience oneness. And when you are experiencing oneness, that's the zone. And in the zone, you have this higher level of thinking that's coming in because you're feeling one with everything in the universe and you're feeling connected to the moment, to the experience. And as a result of that, there's not a lot of thought going on. And yet you have this confidence and this courage, and you feel this sense of connection because love creates connection. Connection creates clarity. That's the zone, the most unbelievable form of clarity. That creates confidence, and then that creates courage. So the more you're in the moment, the more you're loving it, you now have the courage to go after it as an athlete or a performer or a business person, whatever it may be. Now that fear creates separateness and disconnects you and weakens you. So now you can start to see how, wow, the more I'm in that moment. So I don't want you really thinking, I want you to just be in the moment. But when the negative thoughts do come in, then the answer to that is to combat it with those positive thoughts. Instead of letting negative thoughts basically bring you down, you want to elevate your mind, your spirit, your soul with positive thoughts.
So this stuff was taught in elementary school or in middle school and high school at a younger age, realizing that you can completely control your destiny of how you feel and change how you feel. It's such important information. Why do you think it's not taught in schools?
Well, we don't know it yet. A lot of people haven't known these truths. And I'm not trying to be self-promotional, but it's why I wrote The One Truth. And as people have been reading this book, because it's a manuscript now becoming a book that will be published at the end of June. This will be my 28th book. And so as people have been reading this, I've been sharing with people, they're like blown away. They're like, this has never been said like this, explained like this, taught this way. High state of mind, low state of mind, clutter, clarity, understanding the roller coaster and the ebb and flow of thought. The brain is the antenna, oneness and separateness. And so as people are now going to understand this, I really believe this will be taught in schools in the future. And it's the kind of revolutionary thoughts and ideas that I think will change the world and impact the world. And I really believe I was meant to write it. Like I look back at my own life, my own depression, my own negativity, my own anxiety, all the stuff I've struggled with over the years, and then became someone who started helping others and working with these professional and college athletes and corporate leaders and so forth and speaking. I've done all this work to bring me to this moment to share these truths. And these truths all hit me last summer, actually. I was walking every day and they were coming to me. And that's when I started having these conversations with the teenager who was struggling and all these different people along the way to help them. And as I did, it changed everything. And a good friend of mine, Garrett Kramer, he taught me high state of mind, low state of mind. So I want to give him credit. Once I saw that, he taught me that years ago. But once I realized those thoughts are how we are either separated or united, that was the game changer for me. And then I saw it in everything. Like the word integrity comes from the word integer, which means whole and complete. Think about a narcissist. A narcissist actually feels separate. So they act accordingly. And because they feel separate, they literally like protect themselves and don't care about others. You can't be much of a leader, Maya Angelou said, if all you see is yourself. A leader sees greatness in others. So a leader who's a narcissist is not going to be a good leader. But think about it. At the neurological level, they actually cut off other parts of the brain to protect itself. So at the neurological level, there's a separateness going on. Narcissists also most often are dealing with depression, disconnection, isolation, and mental health challenges as well. And that's the thing. As you move from oneness to separateness, you move from positive to negative. As you move from oneness to separateness, you start to experience more feelings of aloneness, isolation, disconnection, and separateness. And all mental health issues actually report those feelings. And so it makes you realize, oh, the more I move towards separateness, I start to experience more challenges with my mental health. Narcissists, same way. People with big egos feel very disconnected. Why? Ego stands for edge and got out. You're focused on self, not being connected to something greater and a greater purpose. A leader with humility feels connected to others and connected spiritually. You have humility, so you're connecting to the bigger whole, and that makes you more WHOLA. So it's interesting. Once you understand this, you'll start to see how it plays out in every aspect of our lives.
Man, wow. Powerful, powerful stuff. I've been taking notes, you guys. One more time, the name of the book and how can people get a hold of you, Jon?
Yeah. It's called The One Truth. and it comes out June 27th. They can launch the book with me if they want. Join my launch team, getonetruth.com, getonetruth.com, and join me for the launch team. Help me share this book. Help me make a difference. You get to read it first, by the way. If you join the launch team, you get to read it a month before it comes out. So you'll be able to read it by the mid or end of May. You'll be able to read the book and get a lot of these ideas and insights and use them. And it really helps you in every aspect of your life. It will help you in business as well. You know, I know you're big on real estate, and my wife and I invest in real estate. And I think the more you make decisions based out of wholeness rather than a wound or a bad decision, or feeling disconnected where you're just trying to fill things up, you often make bad decisions that way. When you're making decisions based on, I love real estate, but I want to find the right real estate, and I do it in a way that is actually building for the greater good, building for the community, building for the area, building wealth for your kids, whatever it may be. When you do it for the right reasons, it often leads to good decisions and more money as a result of that. When you invest in the root, you get a great supply of fruit. Focus on the fruit, ignore the root in business, and the tree dies. So everything my wife and I look at, we go, is this part of something that we want to have for our roots, for our growth, for our family, for our success, for our legacy? Does this make sense? Can we make an impact in the area? Does this real estate make the area better, and so forth? And if we're doing that, generally it leads to great decisions.
And that's why we wanted to have you on, Jon. You know, I mean, there's some people in the real estate market who are absolutely crushing it. Others are struggling. What's the difference? It's mindset. So yeah. Jon, thank you for coming on. Any last words you'd like to share?
I want to share the fact that no matter where you are, I was naturally a negative person, as you heard from in the beginning. You can change, and you literally can take time every day. If your brain is an antenna, which it is, you can tune into the positive each day. And the more you tune, T-U-N-E, the more you tune into the positive, you will actually raise the level of your thinking and have more wisdom, better ideas, and become more successful as a result of that. I guarantee it. Try this every day. Trust in truth. T. U. Unite with love. N. Neutralize the negativity. E. Elevate your thinking with optimism, with belief, and the 3 strategies we shared. You do this every day. Take time, 10 to 20 minutes a day. Make time for it. Because if you do this, you're going to build up your antenna, and a healthy antenna starts to tune into more healthy, positive thoughts. Damage your antenna, which we often do with the foods we eat, chemicals, negative thoughts, and all this other stuff. We damage the antenna. Guess what? The antenna starts to tune into a lower frequency. And so guess what? You don't make good decisions for your health, it's going to affect your antenna, and that affects your thoughts, which affects your mood, which affects how you actually take on the world. So that's what I want to say. Tune into the right things, and you will be a higher vibrating, energetic being that crushes it in business as well. It's next level, but I hope this encouraged you.
Jon, powerful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you learned something. I know I did. We'll catch you on the next episode.